Good morning, distinguished chairperson, respected scholars, fellow researchers, and all conference participants. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Mohammed Swani, and it is a great privilege to present our study entitled AI-enabled green digital marketing capabilities for MSMEs, sustainable competitiveness, insight from Indonesia's digital trade ecosystem. This study was conducted together with Arus Reka Prasetya as the first author, followed by Babang Tri Putranto, Sobasanusi, and Pipin Firdaus as the last author. So our research begins with fundamental questions. How can micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises use artificial intelligence not merely to promote their products more efficiently, but also to communicate environmental value responsibly and build sustainable competitiveness? So we argue that AI becomes strategically meaningful when it is integrated with market knowledge, environmental responsibility, managerial judgment, and customer trust. So in this presentation, I will explain digital context that creates this strategic need, the six capabilities identified in our study, and the broader ecosystem required to support their responsible implementation. So to understand the relevance of this study, we must first examine Indonesia's rapidly expanding digital trade environment. So by the end of 2025, Indonesia had approximately 230 million internet users. It's representing an internet penetration rate of 80.5%. So the country also recorded around 180 million social media user identities. So this figure illustrates the extraordinary reach of digital connectivity across Indonesian society. At the same time, Indonesia's e-commerce transaction value reached approximately uh, 1,288.93 trillion Indonesian rupiah in 2024. Importantly, more than 84% of this transaction value originated from non-marketplace channels, including social media and instant messaging applications. So this pattern shows that Indonesian digital trade is not driven exclusively by formal marketplaces. It is also highly conversational, relational, and also trust-based. So customers frequently discover products, ask questions, negotiate, and complete transactions through direct digital interaction. So however, widespread connectivity does not automatically create sustainable market value. Digital access is widely available, but capability to interpret customer needs, communicate credible environmental benefits, and build long-term trust remains uneven. Therefore, the central challenge is no longer simply whether MSMEs are digitally connected, but whether they can transform that connectivity into responsible and sustainable competitiveness. When we reviewed the existing literature, we found three important but relatively fragmented streams of research. The first stream concerns AI adoption in marketing. So this literature primarily discusses automation, customer analytics, personalization, recommendation system, content generation, and campaign optimization. The second stream focuses on sustainable and green marketing. It emphasizes environmental communication, responsible consumption, consumer confidence, and the importance of avoiding misleading environmental claims. The third stream addresses MSME digitalization. It explains digital readiness, platform participation, entrepreneurship, access to technology, and the role of institutional ecosystem. Uh, each stream offers valuable insights. However, they have not yet been sufficiently integrated. In particular, the literature provides limited explanation of how micro enterprises can transform basic digital readiness into a coordinated set of AI-enabled green marketing capabilities. So this creates the theoretical gap addressed by our study. We ask how MSMEs can use AI to understand customers, create and personalize green messages, optimize campaign, communicate environmental value, and strengthen digital trust without sacrificing credibility or increasing the risk of greenwashing. For resource-constrained enterprises, this is not merely a theoretical issue. It is a practical question of how technological opportunity can be converted into responsible and defensible market value. To address this gap, our study employed a secondary data synthesis approach and was positioned as a conceptual empirical investigation. The empirical foundation was drawn from several complementary sources. These included official statistics from BPS Statistik Indonesia, policy reports from the Indonesian Ministry of Trade, international evidence from the OECD, UNCTAD, and the United Nations, as well as peer-reviewed academic research on artificial intelligence, digital transformation, strategic capabilities, green marketing, and sustainability. So priority was given to the recent sources published between 2020 and June 2026, while classical works were retained to establish the theoretical foundation of the resource-based view, dynamic capabilities theory, and the natural resource-based view. The analytical process consisted of four stages. First, we mapped Indonesia's digital trade ecosystem. Second, we coded theoretical concepts related to sensing, seizing, transforming, environmental value, and trust. Third, we synthesized recurring themes into six capability dimensions. And finally, we organized these dimensions into an integrated conceptual framework. The methodology was informed by the principle of PRISMA and SPAR for SLR, particularly transparency, source credibility, and structured synthesis. However, the study doesn't claim to estimate the causal effects. Instead, it provides an explanatory framework that can guide subsequent empirical testing. The synthesis produced three particularly important market signals. These figures, as you can see from the slide, should not be understood as isolated statistics. Together, they reveal the strategic condition faced by Indonesian SMMEs. First, approximately 97.38% of businesses participating in e-commerce are micro-scale enterprises. This indicates that digital trade has reached the smallest and most resource-constrained business segment. AI application may therefore reduce certain barriers to marketing participation, but their use must remain affordable, understandable, and responsibly governed. Second, 94.76% of online businesses use instant messaging application for transaction. So this confirms that conversational e-commerce is a dominant feature of Indonesia's digital economy. In this environment, sustainability communication must be direct, interactive, specific, and trust-based. Customers need understandable explanation rather than abstract environmental slogans. Third, international evidence shows that approximately 31% of surveyed SMEs use generative AI, while 65% of adopting firms report improvement in employee performance. This demonstrates this demonstrates AI's potential to support productivity, particularly in marketing and sales activities. Nevertheless, technological access alone is insufficient. Responsible adoption also requires data awareness, sustainable literacy, human review, and managerial judgment. AI may produce fluent and persuasive content, but human decision makers must ensure that every environmental statement remains accurate, appropriate, and supported by evidence. Based on these findings, we propose six mutually reinforcing dimensions of AI-enabled green digital marketing capability. Together, they operate as an orchestration engine across the processes of sensing, seizing, and transforming. The first dimension is AI-based customer insight. It strengthens sensing by interpreting search patterns, customer reviews, engagement data, and recurring questions to identify sustainability-oriented preferences. The second is green content creation. AI can help translate environmental product attributes into accessible description, educational messages, social media content, and customer responses. The third dimension is eco-oriented personalization. Sustainability messages can be adapted to different customer priorities, such as durability, reusable packaging, local sourcing, or reduced waste. However, personalization must not become intrusive or manipulative. The fourth is campaign optimization. AI-supported analytics can improve channel selection, timing, content formats, and resource allocation. This is especially important for MSMEs with limited budgets and managerial capacity. The fifth dimension is green value communication. Environmental information must be organized and communicated specifically, transparently, and consistently. General labels such as eco-friendly are insufficient without clear explanation and supporting evidence. The sixth is digital trust building. Responsive service, consistent information, review monitoring, and transparent responses reduce uncertainty surrounding sellers and environmental claim. These six dimensions form a continuous learning cycle. Customer interaction generates new information, which strengthens future insight communication, optimization, and relationship development. The six dimensions are located within a broader capability architecture that connects Indonesia's digital trade ecosystem with sustainable outcomes. On the left side of the framework, the digital trade ecosystem provides connectivity, platform access, social commerce, and opportunities for customer interaction. However, these ecosystem resources do not automatically become firm-level competitive advantages. AI adoption readiness therefore acts as the critical bridge. Readiness includes more than access to an AI application. It also requires digital skill, data awareness, sustainability knowledge, managerial judgment, and governance capability. When sufficient readiness is present, as MSMEs can develop and coordinate the six capability dimensions across sensing, seizing, and transforming activities. This capability architecture generates two immediate forms of market value: a credible green value proposition and stronger digital trust. This outcome can subsequently support sustainable competitiveness through differentiation, adaptability, communication quality, customer confidence, and long-term relationship. They may also contribute to SDG 12 by enabling more responsible consumption and production-oriented market interaction. The feedback roles in this framework are equally important. Customer questions, complaints, reviews, and campaigns outcome return to the capability system as sources of learning. However, the central caution must remain clear. AI tools alone cannot establish environmental performance. Marketing communication must always correspond with substantive operational practices. Technology can help expand environmental value, but it cannot create sustainability that does not actually exist. Because these capabilities are ecosystem enabled, the responsibility cannot be placed on MSMEs alone. As a responsible green digital transition requires alignment among three principal stakeholder groups. So the first pillar is the MSME sector itself. And then the second pillar consists of policymakers and regulators. And the third pillar is represented by digital platform. The central conclusion of this study is that sustainable competitiveness requires AI to be positioned as a strategic governance mechanism rather than as a promotional shortcut. From a theoretical perspective, this study extends the resource-based view and dynamic capabilities theory into the context of digital green marketing. It demonstrates that competitive advantage depends less on processing individual resources and more on configuring them effectively. AI tools, customer data, digital content, environmental knowledge, and platform access become strategically valuable only when they are integrated into coherent organizational routine. From a practical perspective, green digital marketing should be understood as the market-facing extension of a firm's environmental capability. It can communicate and strengthen substantive sustainability practices, but it cannot replace them. Efficient content generation is valuable only when the resulting message is accurate, specific, and supported by evidence. From a broader impact perspective, alignment with SDG 12 requires technological efficiency to be governed by evidence, traceability, human accountability, privacy protection, and respect for customer autonomy. Therefore, AI can strengthen MSME competitiveness when it supports responsible market sensing, credible communication, organizational learning, and long-term trust. Without these safeguards, AI may simply increase the speed and scale of greenwashing. With them, it can become an important instrument for sustainable and inclusive digital transformation. Distinguished participants, this concludes our presentation. On behalf of all authors, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to the organizing committee of ICGEET 2026 and to everyone who has taken the time to attend this session. Thank you very much for your kind attention. We welcome your questions, comments, and constructive insight. Wabil topik wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.